Hello and welcome back to Rams Talk Podcast. And we're here today, the day after Easter Mondays. I guess Easter miracle. Derby were really poor on Friday against Luton. We were very glad that we decided not to do an episode over the weekend because it would have ruined everyone's Easter break. But they bounced back with a really good, really and really important win, especially with the results around us away at West Bromwich Albion. So to dissect more the West Brom game, because we don't want to be too sad, firstly, we've got Adam Titley. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good. I think even better after that good away win, and what an end to the game as well.
Yeah, certainly was, and we'll definitely get onto that. And we've also got Jamie Page. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Wasn't expecting it, if I'm honest. I thought we were going to lose or draw, but then I thought we were going to beat Luton. So over the course of the weekend, we probably got what we deserved.
Absolutely, and Jamie looks very white, very white right now. He looks like he's seen a ghost. And speaking of seeing a ghost, Adam, Derby, third away win of the season. I mean, they're as rare as you can get at the moment, but I mean, what a performance overall, especially after Friday.
Yeah, massive for us. I think before the game, I think everybody had the same sort of feeling of this is a very difficult match for Derby, with West Brom just being in touching distance to those playoff positions if they were to beat us. But no, as soon as the game kicked off, I think we were playing the better team, really. I think we created some good chances. And then, as we saw in that first half, we're clinical from set pieces as we have been all season, carrying on that good form that we have from them. And then in the second half as well, I think my stress levels went through the roof. I kept checking my Fitbit to see my heart rate at the time after Armstrong scored for them. But then Mendes-Lang with that superb goal almost a year after he scored that all-important one away at Cambridge.
Absolutely. And Jamie, it was really important, wasn't it, that Derby got a result, because Friday was horrendous. I mean, that first half is probably, I mean, let's take the QPR game out of it because that wasn't really fair to Judge Eustace on that first game and all of that sort of thing. But that was the worst I can remember Derby playing in a long time. There were no legs. The team seemed shattered, even though we'd had, I guess, a bit of a break. How important was it that Derby turned that around?
Yeah, it was massive, and I just wasn't expecting it because, like you say, I don't think we turned up at a home game in front of all of our fans. That was our game to win, and we didn't do it. So I didn't carry much confidence going into the West Brom game. But that early Ebu goal just set the tone for the rest of the game. And you look at some of these teams at the moment. West Brom are a little bit different because, as Adam said, they had something to play for. But there's some teams in that middle section of the league that seem to have down tools a little bit. Norwich seem to have done it. They've now got a new manager. West Brom seem to do it against Derby, and now they've got a new manager as well. So it's quite strange how it's happened, but we're giving ourselves a fighting chance. And after the disappointment of Friday, at least we've got some optimism and we've got some real confidence going into that whole game on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was interesting. Yeah, Tony Mowbray obviously sacked by West Brom after full time. Earlier in the season, Mark Robbins sacked by Coventry in Derby's first away win of the season. I mean, 2 of the 3 away games have won this season, and the opposition have sacked the manager straight after. So I don't know what that says about us. But and then Plymouth turned into late 90s, early 2000s Brazil since we beat them. So who knows what's going on there? But Adam, let's look at those first goals. I guess the first one's probably the best one to look at. Direct free kick. Marcus Harness into the box. Great header by Ibu. Pushing the back, probably. But it's a really good header. Directs it in at the near post. I mean, what we saw against Luton was weird, I thought. We played a lot of short corners. Mendes-Lang and Harness to start off with, and then Jackson and Harness later on. I don't think any of them beat the first man. It was a pretty horrible watch. I don't really know what Eustace's thought was with that one, but we persisted with it all game and it just didn't work. Whether he found a weakness in that Luton team or something like that, I don't know, but it just didn't work. But good old-fashioned, get it in the box, get someone's head on it, and it's a really good header by Adam.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I think soon as it left his head, you knew it was going in the back of the net. I think watching it on the replay, I'm questioning the goalkeeper a little bit. He's almost moved his hand out of the way a little bit on that one. But a superb goal, and what an early start for us that I think we needed. I think I said before the game, as long as we don't concede early on, and we probably have a good chance in this game at taking something to West Brom. And that really set the tone, that that early header from Ebou Adams and the goal coming from that. And I think we had a lot of joy from set pieces against West Brom. I think defensively as well, we're very good. I'm not sure what happened against Luton, really. As you mentioned, we didn't seem to beat the first man at any opportunity from a corner. And then we started going short, which never really works with Derby County. And I think maybe it's probably down to the fact that because we won the teams down there, players are in and out of form, aren't they? I think Harness, for me, has had this really, really good upturn of form under Eustace. But I think at times we can still sort of see that play that we had at the first half of the season, which was very 50-50 in terms of what sort of performance you were going to get. So maybe it was just a little bit of that against Luton, because I think everybody pretty much had an off day, and I think some of the Luton players did as well. I think it was a pretty bad game to watch, I think, if you're a neutral. But no, that early goal against West Brom, superb. Set the tone really well and gave us that little boost that I think we needed to carry on into it.
Well, that's it. And Jamie, we talked about this last week that Derby have not won a game going behind yet this season. But when we do tend to go ahead, we tend to score again. But let's keep on that first goal for now. I mean, to actually win the corner came from some really good pressing as well. And that was another thing against Luton. It looked like our shape wasn't quite right. We changed our shape from previous games. I guess we played a bit of a 3-4-3 rather than a 3-5-2. And I don't think that really suited this Derby team. I mean, we went back to I guess, what we were doing before, and it worked a lot better, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think a key part of that is Liam Thompson, and we're all a little bit bemused why he's been out of the team. He then comes back in, and we win a game of football. It's quite strange, because if you're making a recipe, if you're following a recipe and you don't have the right ingredients, you're not going to get the end result. And I think we were missing something massive with Liam Thompson not being in the team. It releases Ebou. It allows Ebou to almost have that freer role, get up alongside Jerry. And we know with Ebou Adams, he's all action. He'll be everywhere that he needs to be. So having Tomo to be able to release other players and free up other players, whilst he's so dogged and just runs around and does all the stuff that nobody really wants to do, allows our better players, not better players, but better on the ball players, not Ebou, to be able to fashion out these chances. But yeah, I guess just to add on what you've said there, it was almost like everything that we tried against Luton from a set piece didn't work, whereas everything we tried against Blackburn seemed to work. We're still playing for those moments. We still know that we're not going to carve teams open. I mean, the Mendes-Lang was a freak goal. I still can't believe that he scored it, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, we're heavily reliant on set pieces. But I think for the game against Luton, maybe we just wanted to miss out their centre back. Maybe we were just scared that we weren't going to win it in the air, which I think is very strange when you've got Phillips, when you've got Langas, although Langas has been dropping a bit deeper of late, and obviously Clark as well. So yeah, it's interesting. I just think everything came off for us against West Brom, and I'm just hopeful that it happens again against Hull. But what we want to do is we want to put balls in the box, and we want to feed off of that, whether that's a corner, whether that's a throw in. We don't need Phillips heading the ball back to Forsyth like he did against West Brom. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think it's just a case of knowing how we're going to beat teams, and that's what we're gonna have to do. It's going to be a fight. It's not going to be pretty at times, but if we can mix it up and score some goals like the third goal, then yeah, at least fans will go away happy. And I think everyone that was there in the away end on yesterday has gone away seeing a really good Derby County performance.
That's it. I don't think it's been pretty for about 3 years, mate. So I don't think too many of us are worried about that one, especially not at this point. But you brought up Liam Thompson there. I mean, Adam, Jamie talked about recipes, putting players together, putting ingredients together to make, I guess, the perfect outcome, is the way I'd put it. And Liam Thompson was the perfect outcome yesterday, I thought. And I can't think of many players I can compare him to in that role. Obviously, the most obvious one is N'Golo Kante, isn't he? He's clearly not N'Golo Kante, is he? But he's got that work rate. and he gets across and across and across. I lost count of the amount of times yesterday where they'd switch the ball across the pitch and Tomo would be in a central position, and 10 seconds later, he's out on the wing, pressing, covering, and he just filled those gaps. And Derby didn't have that against Luton. And Derby looked really open in the middle. Luton just ran through us, especially in that first half. They ran through us and cut us open. Ibu Adams and Harris Armstrong couldn't do anything about it. Whereas Tomo being there freed them all up. Armstrong reading the play, winning balls higher up, because he knew that if he didn't win that ball, Tomo was behind him. I mean, he can't be dropped now, can he? Surely can't be dropped now for the rest of the season.
I don't think he can. I think his energy was massive to that game against West Brom. And when you compare it to the Luton game, I think we lacked winning them 50-50s in the Luton game. I think against West Brom, we seemed to win every single 50-50, and that's massive for the way that we play. We like to have that quick build-up and then try and win set pieces. And I think you need to be on top of the ball and pressing them at all times to be able to do that. And we did that superbly. I think, like you mentioned, Luton played through the middle of us. I think I might have liked to have seen Howard come into the fold for that game against Luton with the way that we tried to play with the short corners, and it just felt like we tried to get the ball down a little bit more and play through the middle. And I thought that would have been Howard's perfect sort of game to be able to dictate the play. But hindsight's a brilliant thing, and I think before the game, and we would have all gone with the same starting 11 as what John Eustace picked. But no, Liam Thompson was superb against West Brom, and I think he's coming into his strides even better every time he gets that start, every time he gets that play. Because I think, for me, I was really impressed with him at Norwich away. I think earlier on when he was sort of brought into the fold for that game, I thought he did really well in that one. It was a very similar performance to what he put in against West Brom, full of energy, and just making sure that we won them 50-50s and them loose balls were ours. And yeah, real added piece of tenacity to that team that we needed.
Yeah, he certainly is. I mean, Jamie, let's get on to that second goal, because near enough identical on the other side. Corner whipped in. Clark kind of gets a touch on it, drops to Jerry Yates, who's about a yard out, completely unmarked for some reason, who just taps into an empty net. Keeper's in no man's land. Defence can't deal with it. Again, it's a similar sort of thing. Ball into the box. Big player wins the flick on. Striker scores at the far post. Again, Derby just made it look so easy.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think that's what we all want from set pieces. You want that first contact, and then you want to be able to react. And whereas our players were first to react, their players just stood like statues and watched. I thought it was quite interesting, though, because did Yates think he was offside? Because he didn't celebrate, did he? I think potentially he thought he might have been offside. So we didn't get a Jerry Yates celebration, but 2-0 up, I'll definitely take that. But yeah, and look, that's how we're going to hopefully get out of the mess that we've put ourselves in. 2 games left. I don't expect us to play any different. We've got to play for these set pieces. We've got to be first to the ball. Whether that be a head, a foot, a knee, whatever that might be, and we've just got to hope it gets over the line. There were opportunities in the Luton game. We know there were. It just didn't fall for us. And it's 2 completely different games, like I said before. And I'm just hoping that we have the rub of the green for the next 2.
Yeah, I'm hoping the same as well. And that's the thing. Sometimes you get that feeling, don't you, at games? I think that. I don't know what it is. That Luton game, I didn't have that feeling. It just didn't feel right. Maybe it was the impending, looming decision of, I say decision, but injury to Jakob Vidal-Zetterstrom. Obviously, that injury's picked up. He had to have surgery, and he's going to be out for the rest of the season, which is really, really disappointing for Derby. But Adam, Josh Vickers. Now, I thought he looked a little bit wobbly against Luton. I thought he didn't look very confident. His kicking was all over the place. He looked like a goalkeeper who'd probably found out on the morning, oh, God, I'm playing. And he really struggled with the size of the game. But against West Brom, I mean, he controlled his area really well. His kicking was really good. He got the ball in the right positions every time. That smack it to the wing for Fozzie to flick on is an endless working scenario that Derby have at the minute. But the most important moment for me was that save that he made in the first half at 2-0. And it's Tom Fellows, who I thought had a really quiet game, actually. You know, he's bigged up to I guess, destroyers pre-match, and we kept him really quiet. But the one opportunity he did have on the volley, and Vickers gets down really smartly to his right-hand side to parry it wide. And didn't just parry it wide, he pushed it out of the danger area as well. I mean, what a save.
Yeah, it was massive. I think that stopped a little bit of momentum that West Brom was starting to build up with their balls into the box and their play out wide, because I think at the end of that first half they were getting the ball a little bit more and they were working it out wide a little bit more, and we saw flashes of them getting close to our goal. But that save by Vickers was superb, and Vickers was very confident, I think, in goal against West Brom. He was very solid, I think, especially in that second half when they had more pressure on us and balls were getting lumped into the box, and he was coming almost out to the edge of his area to catch them, and that was really good to see. And I think he looked very composed and very focused in that game. Like you mentioned, his kicking, I think that's something that Derby fans have always said in the last maybe 2 or 3 seasons about goalkeepers' distribution, especially getting it further upfield when we have looked to go direct has lacked a little bit. But I thought Josh Vickers had it down to a T against West Brom. He was superb, very commanding, did what was required of him when he was asked, and was focused throughout. So I think he put in a very good performance against West Brom, and if he can maintain that level throughout the remaining 2 fixtures, I think we're going to have some more important saves in there from him.
Well, that's it, Jamie, and it is important. 2 games to go, and you know, we've got a goalkeeper who's not experienced at this level. He's only played a handful of games in the Championship, but again, if he keeps playing like he did yesterday, has the confidence that he had yesterday, you know, I don't know what Eustace and the staff have said to him, but they've clearly given him some sort of boost, and he looked a lot more assured than he has done previously.
Yeah, definitely. I thought he played really well, and it wasn't just that save, as we've said. He was commanding his box. I mean, it helps. He's got 3 really good, experienced defenders in front of him that are probably talking to him, and he's talking to them throughout the game. So that works. But I didn't ever feel that he was going to let us down against West Brom. I felt that a little bit against Luton, and I can't say that he did anything wrong in that game. But as you said before, when it's always the way, isn't it? When you have a keeper that's injured, your goalkeeper in the first game will either have a shocker or play really well. Whereas for Vickers, I think he just had quite an average game against Luton. But yeah, against West Brom, he was fantastic. You know, cheered on by the away fans as well, which I think would be massive for him. And yeah, I think we've got a good goalkeeper for the next 2 games. Of course, we would want it to be Zetterstrom, but we want a lot of things that we can't get as Derby fans. So we're stuck with Vickers, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. If he can play like he did yesterday, I think we'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah, well, let's hope you're right, mate. I mean, it started to look like it wouldn't be fine, Adam, in that second half. Derby started fairly well, I thought, in the second half, but West Brom started to pile on the pressure. They created a few chances. Obviously, they hit the post in the first half. I thought he'd smacked it about 30 yards wide, but it turns out it actually came off the outside of the post, and they started to play that ball through over and over again. It was Diangana, wasn't it, for West Brom that was picking the passes. I never thought I'd see him playing in holding midfield, but then that probably explains where they are. I was pretty sure he's a flying winger. Now he's a passer out from the back. So yeah, who knows what they were thinking of that one. But he played a really good ball through for Armstrong to score. Annoyingly, the ball didn't go out for the throw-in just before Diangana got the ball. It was still in play. I couldn't have had a better view from where I was stood, directly in line with the edge of the pitch, and it was still in from precise clearance. And then I'm pretty sure he's offside as well. I mean, it's really close. It's one of them where it's 50-50, isn't it? But I'm pretty sure he's off as well. I mean, it's a frustrating goal, isn't it, Adam? I think Langas probably fell asleep a little bit. I think Phillips fell asleep a little bit. I think Wilson fell asleep a little bit. I think there maybe were a couple of question marks about Vickers getting nutmegged from the position he was in, but it was an annoying goal, wasn't it? But how good was it to see that Derby didn't crumble? Because we've seen Derby fall apart. I mean, Portsmouth, great example. Plymouth, probably an even better example, where we conceded almost immediately after conceding the first one. But Derby held firm and they managed to sort of ride that pressure from West Brom.
Yeah, we did. And I think it comes back to the defence being really solid, and also I think, like we've mentioned there, Josh Vickers being very commanding of his area. I think every high ball into the box was his. So when West Brom did look to go direct and put balls in the air, we made sure we were the first to them. And I think it helped that West Brom lacked really a commanding centre forward. I felt in that game, I think our defence had a little bit of an easier time of it in the air, especially against West Brom during that game. But it was great to see us be defensively resolute and then so clinical on the break. Maybe a little bit fortunate with the offside call for us as well. I've not looked at it too much, but from what I've heard, it might slightly be a little bit offside, the Mendes-Lang opportunity. But
No, he was on. He was
was
definitely
it onside?
Yeah, he was on.
Oh, that's good. Well, there we go then. So, but yeah, to be so clinical and not crumble at the end, like we said. And also, I think Eustace probably got the substitution spot on there as well to bring Mendes-Lang later on. I think he'd got a little bit of stick after the Luton game. But to come on and do that was absolutely brilliant.
It was. Jamie, do you think Derby is suited better to playing better teams?
I think we're suited to have less of the ball. That's what I think we're suited to have. I think we look a lot better when we don't have a higher percentage of the ball. And I think if teams want to beat us, if Hull want to beat us, I think they should just let us have the ball. If I'm brutally honest, yeah, I think that's probably fair. But then I also think that we just turned up. We really did. We really did turn up. And I know I keep going back to it, but the Luton game, we just didn't get going. It's so important, that early goal, because it just sets a tone for the rest of it, and it falls to your captain, your leader. And I think the confidence of that early goal showed all of the players and the fans. You've got to remember, fans are so important, as John Eustace and all the players keep saying, they're the 12th man. And, the away end was absolutely bouncing, and players felt really good. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. And I guess you'd look at it and say, yes, I'd want to play someone that's down there. But then also, we've shown that we can play better against teams at the top end of the table. So if you were to say, would you rather play Hull or a Sunderland or a Coventry or a Bristol City? Maybe you'd say one of the teams that are hunting the playoffs or in the playoff places at the moment. But this league is absolutely crazy. Plymouth look dead and buried. They're now alive again. They could get out of it. You've got Derby.
They better not.
No, you've got Derby. I mean, I was on holiday, sat watching the games when I was over there, thinking there's no chance of us getting out of the relegation places and staying up. And look where we are. You've got a Preston team that was safe 2 weeks ago, and people were saying we're on the beach. Now they're being pulled into it. It's absolutely mental. And the ending of it, if you're a neutral watching this, it's going to be fantastic. But for anyone that's got a part and playing a part in it, it's just going to be just absolutely gut-wrenching from the first minute until the 90th for the next two games.
I was going to jump in on your point, Jamie, there about us playing better when we've got less of the ball. What interests me is a player that I'm quite fond of, Kenzo Howard. For me, he's one of our most technically gifted player, but he just cannot seem to get a look in at the moment. I'm not complaining that, obviously, after we've beaten West Brom, but I find it really interesting that we've signed him under, obviously, Paul Warne, the last manager, and we knew we weren't going to have much possession in that style of play. And then under John Eustace, obviously, trying to stay up, we're not going to have much possession either. But I'm interested to see where it leaves Kenzo Hardmine, because for me, I think he's one of our most technically gifted players. And in the game against Luton, where we looked to have more of the possession against a team who were going to play a little bit more defensive against us, he just couldn't really seem to get a look into the team. I find that interesting, whether he's got a part to play in this end of the season, whether he's got a moment in him that if we've got 20 minutes to go in the game and the team's defending against us, maybe he's got an opportunity to come on. But no, just thought I'd throw that out there.
I think for me with Kenzo, I think his impact this season is going to be off the bench if we're losing an important game, away at Hull. If we need someone to open a defence up, defence splitting pass, put a nice ball into the box, he's probably the man. I don't think he's the man to start because he's not like Adams. He's not like Armstrong. He's not like Tomo. Tomo is going to work until he collapses on the floor. Ibu's going to work until he collapses on the floor. Armstrong is a surprisingly physical, large presence that reads the game defensively really, really well. The three of them work brilliant together in the middle. I think if you put Kenzo in that, he doesn't have the work rate. Don't get me wrong, he still works hard, but he doesn't have the work rate. He's not going to run until he drops like the other two, and he's not got the physicality to play that holding role on his own at the moment. I think he's one for next season for me. I think next season, when Eustace starts to develop this team and turn this team into a team that's on the front foot rather than a team that counters from the back foot, I think we'll see a lot more of him, and I think he'll have a real part to play. But yeah, I think you're right, Adam. Like Jamie says, we're better when we don't have the ball, and Kenzo's one of those players that wants to keep us on the ball at all times. He wants to have the ball. He wants to knock it side to side. It's a Dutch style of football, isn't it? You know, high possession, try and wear the opposition out, and that's just not the way we play at the minute. So I'm hoping next season, if we do stay up, we'll see a different Kenzo Hardmine, and hopefully he can have more than 2 minutes at the end of a game and probably cheer him up a little bit.
He didn't even get that, did he, against West Brom? He didn't even get off the bench. But yeah, he's a really good footballer. I love watching him play. I want to watch him play, but I completely understand John Eustace at the moment and the decisions he's making. And it's going to sound a little bit controversial as well. And I did tweet out before the game, but I still think Ben Osborne's got a part to play as well. The experience that Ben Osborne's got. I liked him in that left wing back position against Norwich. I think that was his best performance of the year. We've got an aging Fozzie, although Fozzie's been fantastic this season. Can he go again and again and again? It looks like he can. But I'd like to see Ben Osborne as well in that left wing back position. Personal opinion. Jake, you can tell me I'm wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah, you are wrong. I think Derby needs to be as physical as possible, and putting a 5'6" fullback on wouldn't help us. That's my personal view. I get where you're coming from though, because yeah, he offers something a little bit different, doesn't he? And he's got. I know you said more energy. I don't know if he does have more energy than Fozzie, to be honest, but I think he offers something a little bit different, crosses into the box, things like that maybe we don't have at the minute. But yeah, I think he'll have a part to play, especially in the final two games, maybe seeing it out, coming on in the middle. I just think his size works against him a little bit, and I don't think he's got the engine that Tomo has to play that similar role. But yeah, it's definitely a good point. I mean, there's going to be more players that will make an impact. Blackett Taylor hopes he'll be back for Hull. Elder thinks he'll be back for Hull. So you know, there's a couple of players that should hopefully come back into this Derby team and really make an impact going forwards. But there's one player that we've kind of mentioned already, and I just want to have a quick mention. Jerry Yates, 10 goals for the season for Jerry Yates now, which I think is a really respectable return. You know, he's missed a couple of gilt-edged chances, hasn't he? But hasn't everyone? But 10 goals, 4 assists for Yates. He's had a lot of criticism, but he's contributed directly to 30% of Derby's goals. Without him, realistically, we'd be down. Adam, I mean, I think it's an interesting point. I don't think Derby will sign Jerry Yates for the simple reason he cost Swansea 2 million and he's probably on mega wages because he's cost Swansea 2 million. But if the wages were right and if the deal was cheap, would you have him back next year?
I was debating this myself earlier because I think there's so much at play with. I think the problem with our system at the minute, well, I think for Yates, it's a problem is that it's one man up top on his own. And Jerry Yates isn't going to hold up the play, and he likes to run through on goal, which he doesn't get in this system. He's got to bring other players into play. So I think he's done very well to get 10 goals and 4 assists, and like you said, the 30% contributions to the goals that we've had. But I think if he was available, we've not seen him in a 2. I'd have to be harsh and say no. Particularly,
he's playing in a 2 with harness.
I think for me, I think it's harsh. I think he has got a lot of criticism, and I think the problem with that is everybody is probably expecting us to have that 15, 20 goal striker that we had with McGoldrick. James Collins got a very respectable return in the promotion side. But even then, I think Jerry Yates, for me, I don't think he's clinical enough as a striker. I think even in a 2, I think he'd score more goals, but that's because he'd get more chances. I still think I don't think he's going to pop up in a big moment with a big goal in a one-on-one. I don't think he's that clinical forward for me. I think he's contributed a lot this season. He's still got a big part to play in this final 2. But like you said, his wages and the fee that it would cost, I'm sure, would be, speculative for me to say would be quite high. And yeah, I think for me, if everything was right, I probably wouldn't say so because I think there's other options out there that might work better in this John Eustace system than what Jerry Yates has to offer. But that's not a negative against Yates.
Jamie?
I think if it made sense financially, I would, but I don't think it would make sense financially because Swansea, like you said there, would want quite a sensible transfer offer for him, and he'd probably want some good wages as well. It's interesting because I think if we stayed in the division and if players saw the way that Eustace wants to play football and knowing the manager that he is, I think he's got some pull. And what I wouldn't want to do is bring Yates in at the expense of bringing somebody else in. However, we will need more strikers than we've currently got. If we've got Yates and Salverson, let's pray Salverson can stay fit, but that might not be the case. I don't think bringing in three experienced strikers, however many experienced strikers, doesn't block the pathway for a young player, because I think Dejan Brown probably needs to go out on loan if we stay in the Championship. So, yeah, I mean, I'm quite 50-50 on it. I wouldn't be too upset if he didn't sign, and I probably wouldn't be too upset if he did sign. He's been fantastic for us. I really like the interview after the West Brom game. You can tell how passionate he is and how invested he is into this squad. But yeah, if we stay up, he'll be a massive part of it, just as Waghorn was when we stayed up on the last day against Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, that's what worries me with Derby at the minute. Obviously, this season's the priority, but looking at next season, a big part of the spine that we've currently got is looking like it won't be here. Nat Phillips, Harrison Armstrong, Jerry Yates is pretty much the spine of the team at the moment. So losing those three had caused a massive rebuild, and they've all been so good, haven't they? Nat Phillips is a monster at the back. I remember when we signed him and people were questioning him, which I still don't understand why. And yeah, he certainly made a few people look a little bit silly with the way he's played. But we have to talk about it. That Mendes-Lang goal. Now, I have to admit, to go through my thoughts, he won the ball back really well. Him and Ibu Adams ganged up on the West Brom defence. And to be fair to Ibu, it's a great ball. Plays Mendes-Lang in behind. And I thought, shoot, lob the keeper, score. And I thought, he's gone for it. And I saw it leave Mendes-Lang's boot and just go vertically. I was like, oh, he's messed it up. We're going to get hit on the break here. And somehow he brings it down. He actually took it really well. Takes it down on his right, puts it in with his left, runs and celebrates in front of the fans. And we talked about it already. You know, you mentioned big goals. And he does score big goals away from home. I don't know what it is about Mendes-Lang. He can't score to save his life at Pride Park. But when it comes to playing away from Pride Park, he's a different animal. Adam, he needed that, didn't he? He really needed that. It's not been his season. I think he'd be the first to admit that. But that's the quality he has. And yeah, I mean, that's a really big goal for us.
Yeah, it was massive. And I think he was one step ahead of the whole stadium, including the players on the pitch and the fans in the seats as well. Because I think we all thought the same thing. When he knocked it down in front of him, I was a little bit confused, and I thought that's a bold move, that to round the keeper at this stage of the game, also at that narrow angle. And if that was me, it would have ended up in the side net or maybe even in Rose Ed, because I would have absolutely panicked.
Left foot.
But he didn't. And yeah, it would have left the play. It would have gone out for a throw in the other side, actually, I think, if that had been me on it. But he, no, so cool and composed in that finish. It almost felt like slow motion when he finally did get it back under control. And yeah, the celebration was great as well. And I think that is Mendes-Lang summed up that finish, I think. Cool, composed, and a piece of brilliant skill that is ahead of everybody else on the pitch. We saw it, like I mentioned, I think a year and a day ago when it was Cambridge away, and he rounded the keeper there as well. And he was unlucky in that game with the shot cannoning off the crossbar. I think in big games, he seems able to motivate himself that little bit more. And maybe it's a case of in big games, he's got that composure that other players don't, and are maybe playing the occasion more, whereas he's just playing his natural game. And like you said, he did need that goal. I think this season, because of how well he played last season and how good he was, everybody expected him to match it, which it's a lot more difficult in the Championship to beat fullbacks like you can do in League One. And I think obviously with another year of age added to him as well, he's winding down his career for sure. I think would be fair to say, but that goal was brilliant and an absolute superb end to the game, and from a superb player as well.
I mean, Jamie, when you want to bring a player on late in the game to put up top, put balls over the top to, you've got someone who's built like an ox, sprints. He's probably the quickest player we have still. Even still, I mean, I was told Jackson was fast, but Mendes-Lang is quicker. I mean, he's the perfect player to bring on. We saw it last season. We played him in that front two with Collins, and he scored goals. You know, we put balls in behind, and he would be there, and he would put them in the back of the net. Off the bench, he's such a weapon, isn't he? I'm really surprised we've not used it more, to be honest. I'm really surprised we've not tried him in that two before.
Well, I think he just needs a whack, because remember the Charlton game where he got that kick on the foot and then he went on to score and then had to come off. It's almost like if he gets an injury or a hit to the face, leg, or whatever, he seems to score a goal within the next couple of minutes that he's on the pitch. But yeah, look, we love Mendes-Lang, his contribution to get us back to this level. He was one of the main reasons why we're back here. If I'm honest, I didn't see it happening when he went through. Immediately, I thought offside flag is going to go up. When it didn't, and like you said there, Jake, when the ball went up in the air, I thought, did he mean to do that? What's kind of going on? I mean, if Salah scores that goal for Liverpool, it is everywhere over X. You're seeing it for weeks. They're talking about it on Match of the Day. It would just go global. The presence of mind to be able to just flick it over the goalkeeper like he did, and then to finish with his weaker foot as well. I'm going out there. I'm saying it's goal of the season. And I know we've scored some fantastic goals this season, but that might just be one of the most important ones. And it might just be the best. And if he can come off the bench against Hull and do something similar, it doesn't have to be as sexy. It can be a tap in at the far post. Then it would just maybe be the perfect way to say goodbye to Mendes-Lang.
Well, we'll certainly see about that. I mean, we've got a comment from some bloke called Singh, who I can't say I recognise the name, but he's talking about how huge the Hull game is. We have to talk about it. It's all I've thought about since that final whistle against West Brom. Hull away. I mean, I went to Hull away a few years ago. I think we had a goal disallowed from Tom Lawrence, and then they beat us 2-0, and it was so
Threw
wet
it down
and
all day.
yeah, the stand flooded as well down near the bottom, and you know the water was up to my ankles. And I thought that day, I'm never going back to Hull away. And yet here we are, all those years later, and we're heading back. And Derby need a result. I mean, we're ahead of Hull at the moment on goal difference, and I think goal difference is going to play a real part in the end to this season. But Adam, I mean, we've already talked about how big this game is. We know how big this game is. This is probably the biggest game of the season for both teams. I mean, we seem to be saying that every week at the minute, but this is the biggest game of the season for both teams. If Derby win, it all but confirms safety. If Derby lose, it's suddenly probably out of our hands. I mean, how do you see it going?
Well, I think it's really difficult to predict. I think I'm leaning towards more of a draw because I think both teams will be very nervous in this game because I think it will be a game of chess that no one wants to lose. And I think Hull are a team who don't score many and don't concede many. They're very solid at both ends. Well, at the defensive end, really. And Derby, I think it's quite rare that we hit 3 goals like we did against West Brom. We usually only do it in big games like Plymouth away again. And I think if we score first, we'll put ourselves in good stead for a positive result, whether that be a draw or all 3 points. But I think it's squeaky bum time, isn't it, in Hull's ground on Saturday. It's going to be very nervy. I think both sets of fans will be feeling it. And like you say, I think if we win, we'll leapfrog Hull and Oxford, depending on Oxford's results. And that would be very positive for us. I think the worst thing you could do on Saturday is check the other scores. I think just focus on the Derby game, because I think I was guilty of doing it on yesterday, checking the scores as well. And yeah, don't do that. It's not good for your stress level. Just focus on the game. And yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game, and I don't think either side will give much away. I think we had quite an end-to-end game against West Brom, where both teams were quite open in attacking. But I think against Hull, it's going to be a bit of a defensive game where it will be who gives way first.
Yeah, and Jamie, I mean, looking at Hull's results, they've won 3 of the last 5 at home, although the defeat in that time was to Luton, which is quite an interesting one. They're obviously on the same goal difference, sorry, but Derby have scored more goals, as Adam alluded to. They don't score a massive amount of goals, but they don't concede a huge amount either. A win for Derby could take them up to 18th. A defeat for Derby could drop them down to 22nd. So there's a lot riding on this one. Can the team withstand the pressure better than they did in the first half against Pompey and the first half against Luton?
It's a really interesting one. And I have to go back to our prediction video that we did, a month or so ago. And I did have us to lose this game. I just feel that Hull will beat us on Saturday. I don't know why. I feel like it's going to go to the last game of the season, whatever happens. So even if we draw, it will go to that Stoke game. I just think that, can we see this Derby side doing 2 away victories on the bounce? I just don't think so. I don't think so at the moment. I am being pessimistic. I want to tempt fate. If fate's out there listening, I'm tempting you.
Fate, please, fate.
But yeah, I had it down for Hull to win this game, and I'm gonna stick with that. I just hope that we do enough in the game that we can give a good account of ourselves, that we can have some confidence going into that Stoke game and hopefully beat Stoke at home. I don't want to think about losing, and I'll gladly take a draw, but I don't know. I just don't see us winning that game because it's so typical Derby County. We've been here time and time before. When do we make it easy for ourselves? When do we give ourselves a game spare? When do we allow fans to breathe a sigh of relief, And I know we can talk about next season, but last season, but whenever we're in these kind of situations, we always leave it till the last minute. So I'm going to predict that happens again. I'm sorry you don't want to hear it, but that's just my personal take.
Is it time for Istan Hall Part 2?
I will say, I was actually going to mention that I created Istan Hall. All right, I actually did. I'm not even joking to you.
On this
I know. Look, I haven't created much in my life. Okay, I did create that hashtag. So yeah, if we could do Istan Hull again, that would be amazing. And of course, we're not going there 3-0 down. So we've got to see that as a positive.
And I'm on a 2-match unbeaten run away from home. So, that's the longest in quite some time. So yeah, that hopefully plays in our favour as well. But if you've got score predictions and you're watching live, please do drop them in the comments section now whilst I go to the lads. Adam, score prediction, goal scorers, Hull City, away from home. Probably going to rain.
I'll go 1-1, and I think we'll score late. I'll go with Kenzo Wildmine to come on and just pull something out of nothing, just a screamer or a bit of magic, and we're in. So I'll go with a 1-1. I think I'm hoping we can come away with a point.
Jamie Page.
I'm going to go 2-1 Hull, and I'm going to go Matt Clark to get a consolation header and give us a little bit of, that little bit of hope you get if you score on like the 85th minute. That's the little bit of hope that we're going to get, and I think that's going to be it. But like I say, happy to be proven wrong, and if people want to jump in the DMs and say how wrong I was, how foolish I am, more than happy to receive that if we get a win or get a draw.
Yeah, you don't have to go on this pod for me to send you that, mate. Don't you worry.
It's true.
Daily occurrence. It's all good. I think I'm going to go with Adam more out of hope, I guess, than anything. I think Derby, we look so good against West Brom, and you've just got to hope that he doesn't change it. And if Eustace sticks with what we played against West Brom, we've had almost a week to recover. And yeah, you just got to hope that Derby can pull it out of the bag, haven't you? It's been such a horrible season. I think even when we've been good, it's still been gut-wrenching because it's never straightforward. We've never been safe. We've never really thought, oh, we're out of this. Since Christmas, it's been a bit of a nightmare. So yeah, I'm going to go with 1-1 as well. And I think it'll be a late goal. I don't think it'll be Matt Clark. I don't think he'll ever score a goal for us again, but it'll be somebody else. It's going to drop to somebody about 3 yards from goal. I'll tap it. We'll go, who's in the box, just corners. I don't know. Let's say Callum Elder. Why not? Callum Elder's going to tap one in if he's fit. Hope you're all right, Callum. and get us that really important draw away at Hull. We've got a couple in the chat as well. Gladly Gaming says Derby going to win 3-2 with a Kane Wilson hat-trick. That'd be something. And that Vic Singh bloke's back again, and he says he thinks we're going to win 2-1 with Mendes-Lang and Clark. And he made a really good point as well. Luton play the early kickoff, don't they? They play the early kickoff, which will be really, really interesting. So we will see what happens there.
Don't check the score.
Yeah, don't check the score.
Just ignore it. Pretend they don't play.
So what else?
Pretend we're the only two teams in the league.
Which team down the bottom are playing on the Friday? Who's playing on the Friday? One of the other teams down there is playing. Stoke. Yeah, so Stoke play on the Friday night as well. So, don't look at the screen. In fact, just don't open your phone. Don't do anything apart from listen to this, obviously, because you can't be missing something like this. So, thank you so much for listening. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like. Really helps us out. And please do subscribe if you enjoyed it as well. We're usually live on a Sunday. It's obviously weird because it's Easter. So we'll be here on Sunday talking all about the whole game. Hopefully talking about a win. That'd be nice. So it'd be nice to see you at 7:00 on Sunday as well. So please do like, please do subscribe, please do give us a rating on Spotify or Apple Pods if you've enjoyed it. If you've not enjoyed it, please don't give us a rating because that makes us really sad. So just tell us instead. DM Jamie actually if you didn't enjoy it. Just let him know he's our PR representative. So thank you so much for listening, and it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
We've got to go to Hull and back. And I'll tell you something, I would love it if we beat them. Love it. Goodbye from me.
We've won an away game. Long may it continue. We'll see you soon.